Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Music Nerds Record Club, episode 28. It is 28, is it not? Yes, indeed. I'm getting the thumbs up. My name is Greenberg. I'm the host of the Debts No Honest Man Can Pay podcast on Apple Podcast. New episode dropped today. Check it out. Would love to hear what you think about it. But what we are gathered here to talk about tonight, masters of smoky noir cool, international ambassadors of night music, and the official, unofficial house band of summer, Los Lobos. But before we dig in, let's go around the table, introduce to you the Venn diagram. We got Tennessee folks. We got folks with their roots in Motown. And Sir Andrew Smith is the Venn diagram. Joe and I know him from growing up in Southfield, but he lives right now in Cookeville, Tennessee. He is the host of the Teacher on the Radio program on WTTU at Tennessee Tech University in Cookeville, Tennessee. Also in Cookeville, the master of Creeder comforts, if you will, and the father of Gus Creeder, who is too cool to join us tonight because he's hanging with his girlfriend, Mark Creeder. Also in Tennessee, the Nashville contingent, the master of all things pop, the professor of pop arts, if you will, and writer for popmatters.com, Richard Quinn, and our ambassador of EDM and all things that make you shake your ass, Amy Rock. Last but not least, one of my brothers from another mother, one of my Southfield peeps, holding it down in New City, New York, Mr. Joe Mixtape Guinness. So I have labored over some remarks. I mean, I've labored over these. Usually they flow, but this is like I was at danger of like writing a TED Talk, and I would have bored everybody and nobody would have been able to talk, and everybody would have cried, and y'all would have gathered outside of my house like Frankenstein villagers with torches, and that never ends well. So before I go ahead and dig into the remarks, I just want to, just for reference, when it comes to the music of Los Lobos, I see them as three chapters, three distinct eras. The first chapter I call Just Another Band from East LA, which is also the title of their first EP and their very first compilation. This is the area spanning from 1973 to 1992, when they were cutting teeth in the same scene that gave us X and the Blasters and Lone Justice and Dwight Yoakam, when they were just a top-notch roots rock band with the proud Mexican-American roots, adding in the Tex-Mex and the Norteña. The second era I like to call the Froome-Blake Extended Trilogy. And I know what you're saying. How can a trilogy be extended? Well, if y'all will shut up, I will let you know. So the Froome-Blake Extended Trilogy refers to the trilogy of albums produced by Mitchell Froome and Chad Blake, these being Kiko, Colossal Head, and This Time. And to extend the trilogy, that would also include the two albums recorded by the Latin Playboys, the side project with Mitchell Froome and Chad Blake, David Hidalgo and Louis Perez. This would be 1992 to 1999. And then the third era would be Everything Else. I couldn't think of a clever title for it. You know, from 1999 to the present, when they eventually moved into producing themselves and just kind of an extended victory lap, if you will. So, you know how sometimes you got a person in your life, they've been there for a while, and then you gradually realize that they're one of your best friends and you can't imagine your life without them? That's how I feel about Los Lobos. Their music is a source of great comfort and joy for me, and it's traveled with me since the mid-90s. Their eclectic hybrid of rock and roll, soul, blues, funk, cumbia, and whatever else is lying around served piping hot on deep dish grooves is irresistible to me. I started as a casual fan, but everything changed the moment I heard Kiko and the Lavender Moon for the first time. I'd never heard anything quite like it before. So, y'all remember when I led the chat about Morphine, describing their sound as smoky noir cool, but also identifying them as practitioners of night music? Well, with Kiko and the subsequent debut of their clinky clanky late night lo fi side project, Latin Playboys, Los Lobos proved they were more than just another roots rock band from East LA. They proved to be masters of smoky noir cool and international ambassadors of night music. Now, the side project of Los Lobos is essential to getting the whole vibe of Los Lobos, which is why I've included them. Latin Playboys raised the sonic stakes established by Kiko and played like the best kind of Tom Waits fever dream, starring David Hidalgo, Louis Perez, Mitchell Froome, and Chad Blake as the sonic science nerds staying up late in the lab, not only for extra credit, but for the love of the game. But even before Kiko, you could hear they were about to turn the corner on their third album, The Neighborhood. After they dropped Colossal Head, in my humble opinion, Los Lobos had scored a hat trick. They won the Triple Crown, if you will. To me, they're not just masters of smoky noir cool and international ambassadors of night music. They're my official, unofficial house band of summer. And I've seen them live at least 10 times. Many of these were free shows at summer events back in Detroit, like Taste Fest and Concert of Colors. Los Lobos loved Detroit, and Detroit loved Los Lobos. Every time they were in town, they would play at WDET. It kind of reminded me about how back in the 70s and 80s, Jay Giles claimed Detroit as their second home. I often felt like Los Lobos, their second home was Detroit. Long story short, so I've said previously that Los Lobos' music is a source of great comfort and joy for me, and this was never more clear than during the summer of 2020, or I'm sorry, the summer of 2004, also known as the character-building chapter of my life entitled My Exile Behind the Cheddar Curtain. Long story short, I had next to nothing. All of my prospects were rock bottom, and I packed what I could fit into the car to start a job as a copywriter for a vitamin and supplement company in Green Bay. I was the fishiest fish out of water, and things did not go well for me there. Los Lobos' album, The Ride, a victory lap of a record celebrating 30 years together, was in heavy rotation for me that summer, and it damn near saved my life just by existing. At my lowest point during that summer, I road tripped back home to Detroit. My third road trip to Detroit during that summer. You can tell that things were not going well. I went back home to see Los Lobos at Shane Park for the Concert of Colors with my friend Danny, because I knew the only therapy that would move the needle for me was dancing my ass off to Good Morning Aztlan, as prescribed by the masters of smoky noir cool, international ambassadors of night music, and my official, unofficial house band of summer, David Hidalgo, Cesar Rosas, Louis Perez, Conrad Lozano, and Steve Berlin, Los Lobos. I open the floor up. Who wants to go first?
Oh, I'll go.
Hit it, Joe.
Well done, Scott.
Thank you.
Scott Greenberg. I reached out to Scott saying, I'm listening to this, and here are some of my ideas. You can chew on these and see if you want to process them. So I actually have had a couple of thoughts on that. Going back to their connection with Detroit and DET, I remember that, and I'm going to hang my hat on first hearing the Will the World Survive on DET, and that's the first time I heard them. I never really pursued them. It's, they're one of those bands that every time I hear them, I'm like, yeah, they're good. They're as good as everybody says they are, you know. And I liked them a lot. And I had some CDs, but I've always been a sort of a Los Lobos dilettante. You know, I bet I checked some out from the library during my period of going to the library and burning stuff or ripping it or whatever you do with that stuff at home when you take it from the library. But it's they do have a pretty remarkable discography. It's remarkably consistent. One of the things that's I find impressive about them is that they do always sound like Los Lobos, you know. Yet every record doesn't sound the same, and I think you could probably say that about a lot of people, but I'm not. I'm sad as somebody who hasn't lived with them. I just hear this band with the same consistent something, while they can mix it up. Like they're never plowing the same field over, you know, over and over again. They're moving around and rotating crops, and you know, Scott, you made me also realize that that's where I first heard cumbia. You know, when I was listening to that, like the most Los Lobos I listened to in years. Now I can hear that and recognize it, but you know, you know, it took me 30 or 40 years to get around to listening to that, but they were there. One of the things I noted while going through that list, and didn't we say there was going to be a rule about keeping playlists to under 500 songs? Greenberg, didn't we agree on that? I'm
I
joshing.
remember that role.
No, I'm joshing you. I don't think I listened to it for many hours, but I kept, you know, I was listening to it on multiple shuffles, so I don't know if I got through all of it. But it was a voyage, and it flipped around a lot. So that was good. But but looking at all those little tiny covers in my car, they have like three kinds of covers. They got their folk art cover, they got their Moody band photo cover, and then they have their Moody cover without the band in it. There's like three types. Another Los Lobos fun fact I discovered was have a dog choking motherload of songs with names in the title, and it's almost built. It's like Love and Rockets Palomar Stories meets Winesburg, Ohio's like Sherman Anderson's Sherwood Anderson's Winesburg, Ohio. You know that poetry collection? They're all stories told by people who lived in the town, but they're dead now. They're beyond the grave stories. It's just like everybody who lived in that town. Like if you listen to, you know, however many Los Lobos songs I listen to, this whole community sort of sketches itself out. You know, if I listen to it again, I'd wonder if I'd hear like how Hold Steady, what's his name, reintroduces characters and different angles of stories from in different songs. That's a pretty neat device to use in songwriting and do it without being feeling pedantic, I guess, which is something they do. They're you know, smooth and cool, and it was nice to immerse myself in them. I also almost danced to Good Morning Atzlan. It's a fabulous song. And I like their if you shuffled the way I did and didn't come across things, they have this great EP called Ride This, which sort of was one of those that dragged me back into Los Lobos when I heard that. And I actually have the CD of it in a box somewhere. It's five or six cover songs. Just almost people their peers, like they cover Marie Marie by the Blasters. There's what else do they cover, Scott? That's on there. Shoot Out the Lights.
They do Richard Thompson,
right?
So the story behind Ride This was like a companion piece to the ride, because everybody they cover on Ride This was a guest on the ride, and a lot of those songs were there like reworking of older songs from their older albums, which was kind of fascinating as well.
Oh, that's interesting. I just had it as a random release of covers. just a little tastiness. Anyway, that's what I got. They're a great band, and they'll never bore me. And I might not binge listen as much as I just did, but when I do, I'll always enjoy them. It's good shit.
Awesome. Do you have any favorites that stand out?
I like Ride This a lot. I like Good Morning Atslan. There was a lot of things in there that I'd never heard. Like I'd never heard Kiko, the whole Kiko, and Kiko and the Lavender Moon was pretty impressive.
Yeah, I think that there's great Los Lobos albums and there's good Los Lobos albums, and I love Kiko. It's one of those albums where I'm like, it was a little bit over long. I think it was like 14 songs, and I figured out, it's like, okay, if I were to edit it, they're like the four songs I would cut are not bad. They're just, when you have 10 songs that are out in the stratosphere and you got 4 good songs, it's like night and day. So I think Kiko is like the groundbreaker, but I think that just as a plain, just no skip, put it on, set it and forget it, Colossal Head, really kind of, and it's got the kind of almost like a kind of like a Motown on acid kind of vibe, especially on the title track. So, all right, who wants to go next?
So I'm going to jump in on Kiko. So it's got a very psychedelic thing going on for it. And my shuffle experience, I think, kind of resembled where, Joe was like, isn't that playlist a little bit big? So I started shuffling, but I immediately came to this particular song, When the Circus Comes. And I knew that song right away, and I did not know that it was a Los Lobos song. And I don't know how many different versions I've heard of it. It's very possible the first version I heard of it was the Los Lobos version. I might have heard it in a movie or on a shuffle, and I didn't know it was them. But it is also a regular in the repertoire for Fish. And I don't know how well you guys understand the way jam band culture works, but once a song kind of gets into the jam band canon, it is passed around in the way that old folk singers would pass songs around. It becomes part of the common culture. And so that song just blew my mind, and it came on early in the listen. And so I went down a little rabbit hole about where the Fish fans were with this and found a Reddit post about just how great Kiko was. So then I just went and listened to that. And then I went and listened to their second album from 1984 because I liked the album cover. And I think, I remember that album cover. But I want to say something else before I go on with a couple more comments. I am blown away with how deep and wide we are with this hobby. And a podcast of not that one, Scott, there's a different, it has like a little drawing on the cover, at least on the Spotify version, it's got a little drawing on the cover.
Are you talking about La Pistola y Corazon?
I don't know which one I'm
talking
about. Are you
talking about How Will the Wolf Survive the Neighborhood?
The wolf one, How the Wolf Will Survive.
That's their first one.
On this list, it's their second one.
Well, it was their first one it was the one that put them on the map. Their first one for Slash Records.
Okay, yeah. And I think I might have even had that one back in the day, or seen it in one of your collections, or seen it in there. I remember that album. They were on. I'm sure they were on MTV. In the alternative kind of, and we were listening to X, and people like X and Cervanka. It was in the Meat Puppets and all this kind of really kind of scuzzed out West Coast stuff. So I'm sure I was aware of them, but I don't think I realized how huge they were, or how many different styles of music that they play. But let me say this other thing, and why this is such a cool project that we do once a month or once or 11 times a year or something like that, is that I can't tell you, I say it's probably at least half of the episodes I'm coming into whatever our topic is as a complete kindergarten neophyte. I'm coming in as maybe even at the pre-K, so uneducated about, and even stuff that you had, Amy, I forget which band it was now, that I should have known. like System of a Down guy, like I should have known about him. He's like so like my type of guy. I had no flipping clue, and it's been like that so many times on the pod here, if we can call it the pod, that I just am like, music is such a huge hobby, and I every year on your best ofs, I say I'm going to go listen to every single one of your 10 front to. I never do. I still haven't gotten around probably to your best of from 3 years ago. I still need to get to that, and then when I recommend shit to people, and then like Rick knows this, I'll text him like 3 months later. Hey, did you ever listen to that? He's like, oh no, here, I'll go listen right now. And he's trying to get me to listen to an album. And I listened to what I said, tell me one song, because that's all I'm going to give you right now. Because I haven't done my Los Lobos homework yet. Just give me one song for the day. But so Los Lobos is many genres. And like, I still don't even know what cumbia is, but when I listen to a cumbia band, I'm like, oh, it's that music that makes me feel this certain way. And the whole kind of international, Tex-Mex, that kind of that cultural cross-pollination that is so rich in all American music, but now especially for people coming from Mexico and Central America and South America, has become so politicized for our society, when Bad Bunny was on the Super Bowl, and all the, the meltdowns of people. So I think it's really important that Los Lobos sort of takes their place in rock history. And I think Scott has done that for us tonight. I'm really, really grateful. And keeping with that. So first of all, When the Circus Comes, I love that. And I listened to the Kiko and the Wolf album. I ended up getting off shuffle and just listening to those two albums all the way through. But I also, because the algorithm amplified it, wanted to bring to your attention a duet that they did with Steve Earle that came out just a couple weeks ago. And it's about immigration. And there's a stanza towards the end of it. This is about Mexican immigrants primarily who become United States citizens. And one of the stanzas is about one of them becoming a U.S. A service person and then dying in Afghanistan. And then the next stanza says, they were raised to believe in this country that I barely recognize now. The migra come massed in the night without warning. The children scream when they knock down the doors. And it's just like, oh my God, or knock the doors down. It's such a powerful song. And it's a duet between, and I don't know, the title is in Spanish, I believe. It's Volver
a Celaya.
Yes,
Celaya is like a city in Mexico.
Anyway, it's a phenomenal song, and God, Steve Earle, what a hardcore long haul guy. I was about to call him a saint, but he's definitely not. He's a dirty, rotten, drug addict and a weird ass guy, very troubled past. But what a contribution to the genres that we like on this show. So anyway, I'll tip to whoever's next. But Scott, thank you so much, and to all of you, past and future, for getting me to listen to stuff. Like Mark, another example, and then I'll shut up. I never listened to that Beastie Boys album ever in my whole life until you got me to listen to it. So y'all keep making my ear holes expand.
So promise Andy some camera time and he'll listen to your album, is what he's saying. So aside from When the Circus Comes to Town and Kiko and How Will the Wolf Survive, were there any other favorites that jumped out at you?
I think I've pretty much covered it there. If I went back through my listening history, I could probably pull a couple more. But with The Circus Comes is just such one of those just hair on, goosebumpy kind of songs for me. It's just so emotional for me. And that Steve Earle duet. But what I liked about Kiko, just to reiterate, was that it was, like you said, it was trippy. It was a trippy, and it works to listen to as an album. It feels like a kind of like a concept album, and it felt very like, you go through a portal and you're all in the zone. I very much got in the zone.
Well, the title
Kiko.
Kiko and the Lavender Moon is such a singular song. It's slinky, it's swanky, it's otherworldly. It's kind of almost got like a big band vibe to it, but like a big band from Mars. It's very cool. I'm hoping that somebody else will share my love for Latin Playboys at some point. But I also, you bring up how Fish covered When the Circus Comes to Town. I recently learned that Fish covers XTC's Melt the Guns, and I talked to my friend Margaret, who's a huge Fish head, and apparently they've been covering that for years. And okay, there's another song. I think it's either on Kiko or it might be on The Neighborhood when Angel Dance. Robert Plant covers that. So Los Lobos, they have fans in high places. So who wants to go next?
I'll jump in quickly because if Andrew is kindergarten, maybe pre-K, I'm like in daycare as far as my exposure to this. So I thank you, Scott, for this sea of a playlist that I'll just confess I barely dipped my toe into prior to, but I'm gonna enjoy swimming out a little further after our conversations. I just had one quick observation that struck me, and I was hearing it in several songs. It was appealing to me, this sense of a universality that's not a broad watering down of things, but that's rooted in like the groundedness in, like you said, in a neighborhood, in a place. And it really came through to me when I heard their cover of What's Going On. You know, a great cover is kind of does justice to the original, but takes it in a different place. And I could hear that connection. And I can't name the other songs that I heard, but this sense of a groundedness in a community, a solidarity of struggle and joy, all of this coming out in a lot of the songs that I heard. So yeah, it really scratched that itch for me. So thanks.
Do you have any favorites that jumped out?
I don't, and that's due to the fact that I did some listening while moving around and not always I didn't take the time to say, oh, I need to write that one down.
Right.
And so, but
okay,
yeah.
Fair enough. So at one point I was thinking I might just curate this to just be about the Mitchell Froom, Chad Blake extended universe. But I thought, well, you know what? I don't want to go ahead and over curate. And I'm like, I wanted to give you all like the 360 degree view of what they were all about, which is why the playlist is so sprawling. So I realized I may have also done myself a disservice by just giving you too much to chew on. And while it's fresh in my mind, there's an album of theirs I absolutely adore that came out in the tweens called Tin Can Trust. There's a song on there called Jupiter or the Moon, which from a vibe standpoint is right on par with Kiko and the Lavender Moon. Unfortunately, the album doesn't stream, which apparently there's some kind of like licensing thing. They recorded for a different label at the time, and I think at one point it was streaming. But if anything, I'm like, if you get a chance to listen to the album, it's a treat. Or, you know, if you just listen to one song off of that, let it be Jupiter or the Moon, because it's magical, much in the same way that that Kiko and the Lavender Moon is. So who's up next? Fight for it.
It's me.
It's Amy Rock.
All right. Well, first of all, when I was telling my coworkers about what I was doing this evening, we had to first establish that Los Lonely Boys is distinct from Los Lobos. So I had to learn that first. To like Rick, it was more passive listening of the playlist. I had it on as I was driving around this weekend, and man, I will not deny that's a summer vibe. Like spot on. it's a summer playlist. It's a summer band. No argument there. And really, like, while I was listening to it, like, what does this sound like? Where does this take me? Because I don't really have a point of reference for it. I don't have any memories of sitting down with these albums. And I think it took me to the summers I spent in Northern California. There was a lot of like concerts in the park, and that sound and that energy is what I remember of seeing maybe local bands, maybe Los Lobos. I'm going to do some research and see if I did accidentally see them at a concert in the park one of those summers, because it's possible. And because that's exactly what those memories sound like, sitting out with friends. The adults are drinking wine. I'm in the back with other teenagers just hanging out, and just joyful summer times, and just what a wonderful soundtrack. So thank you, Scott, for bringing it forward. And I'm going to keep mixing this playlist while I'm driving around this summer.
That is exactly the kind of thing that you could say to me that would just bring a tear to my heart. So any favorites jump out at you?
No, like Rick, I didn't spend quite enough time to pick out favorite songs, but
right.
I'll get back to you if I find one that really sings to me. And
I like
definitely
that.
will be checking out the ones you've mentioned.
Excellent.
Okay, I guess it's me. It's funny. I felt I've really been kind of disconnected from the world for the last month or so. It's summer, and it's kind of the way to do it. And okay, be calling me. He knows I'm doing this right now. Anyway, I was excited when I saw that it was Los Lobos, because I have loved this band forever. It all started with me, honestly, with How Will the Wolf Survive. I still have the LP that I bought, and I listened to it over and over and over again. It's just such a great album. And then it just kind of went from there. Los Lobos was one of those bands too that I would be in a used record store or something, and I'd be looking through the CDs, and I'd go, oh, that's a Los Lobos album I don't have, and I would just go ahead and get it. And I love their music. I love. I remember hearing them. I think they had a song or the whole sound of the soundtrack for the Robert Rodriguez movie Desperado is very much, has Los Lobos and similar musicians. And I think some of the band plays with other musicians on it. And it's just so great. Also, I think that they're on the vampire Western movie that
From Dusk Till Dawn.
Dusk Till Dawn, yes. So I just and it was funny. A couple years ago, they were playing at the in the concert hall at the Country Music Hall of Fame in Nashville, and it was kind of like this realization. Gosh, I've never seen Los Lobos live, so I immediately got a ticket and went to see it, and it was an incredible show, and I was so happy to have seen them. And then as a bonus, I ended up winning a free Hatch print poster of their concert. So it was just win-win all the way around. But yeah, Los Lobos is a band that I just feel like has been part of my life for years and years and years. And I'm so grateful. So it was fun because I saw that's what we were talking about. And I thought, oh, good. I'm pretty connected with them. And I really love all their albums. I don't know that I've listened to all of their fully Spanish or, language albums, but I love Kiko, and I love the Giant Head. Sorry, I can't remember.
Colossal Head.
Yes, I love the Colossal Head, and I love the Neighborhood, and yeah, I just think they're the best. And I love too that they're a band that has played together for such a long time. I'm always moved by musicians that have known each other and played together for a long time and have really built that kind of thing, which I think is really cool.
Same lineup too. So any new favorites pop out at you?
There was something on. Am I misremembering? Did Bruce or did Springsteen do a song with them? Or
Wow.
I thought it was something on The Neighborhood. For some reason, there was something on The Neighborhood I remember really liking.
Oh,
And it may have made me think of Bruce or something.
but there's one song on The Neighborhood where John Hyatt does background vocals.
Okay, maybe that's what it was.
Down on the Riverbed, which is a great song.
Yeah, that might be it. But I just remember, that's one that I've listened to a number of times. Okay, John Hyatt. Yeah, there you go.
So thank you all. A couple of things that Mark reminded me of. First of all, thank you for bringing up Desperado, my favorite popcorn movie. I love Robert Rodriguez. I love that movie. I love that soundtrack. Not only does it feature Los Lobos, but it features Latin Playboys.
Right.
And one of the most beautiful songs I've ever heard is the closing track on their first album, Forever Nightshade, Merry Goodnight. Just beautiful song. And then, fun fact, there's a song called Lemon and Ice on the second album, Dose. They played at the Majestic for that one. Elisa Germano opened for them and actually joined them for a couple of songs, but great show. I don't think they've toured since. They've not done another Latin Playboys album since, but the song Lemon and Ice, which is a sexy ass song, it's like you can feel like the sweat dripping off the speakers when you listen to the song. Fun fact, Wendy and Lisa did background vocals on that one. I also want to take a moment to acknowledge that Los Lobos did have their 15 minutes of fame. You know, they got the critical acclaim from How Will the Wolves Survive? And then in the mid-'80s, they did the soundtrack for La Bamba, scored a #1 hit with La Bamba. And yeah, it's a cover, so they probably didn't make a ton of money because royalties go to the Richie Valens estate, as they should, but they got plenty of exposure. And I really love the fact that instead of leaning into that and trying to chase the commercial dragon, that they went in the opposite direction. The first thing they did after La Bamba was the all Mexican language, Spanish language album, La Pistola y Corazon, which is a baller move. That's a total Nebraska move, and I have so much respect for them. And they just committed the rest of their career to just following their distinct vision, and that's one of the reasons that I love them. So anybody else have anything to say about the Wolves? Or was there anybody else who loves Latin Playboys? Because I'm not sensing a lot of love for Latin Playboys.
No, I just think it's wild. I think it's wild. Like the more chronologically advanced you get, the chances that you've listened to more Los Lobos. I think it's really interesting how certain bands get us. They've theorized this whole thing. They call it the reminiscence bump, and I'm sure you've heard this whole thing of like, well, the music you liked when you were 17 is the music you will always love. But there is something, I think, chemical in our brains about that music, and so they've developed a whole theory around it. And by maybe even having a few years, ahead of me, that they hit you at, I don't know. I'm ruining my own theory because I was actually closer to that age than you guys were when I first heard them, because I definitely heard them on MTV around that time. So never mind. Anyway, but I do think it's interesting that the gradations of, like, Mark was like, oh yeah, Los Lobos. Whereas like Rick was like, lost whom? And like Amy's like, why does this sound like summer? It was just, So
Amy's
anyway,
like, are they the same band as Los Lonely Boys?
Right. Yeah.
They tour together though.
So, do people want to do a round robin, or Scott, did you want to keep on the?
I will quickly run down mine. So,
all right. So we're okay. Hey, everyone, if you're a listener, we might not have any listeners. The standard feature is after our feature discussion that is curated by an alternating cast of nerds, we do a round robin of things we're listening to recently, and that can be actual new releases or just whatever we've been listening to. So, Scott, take it away.
All right. So,
Can I go first real quick? I'm gonna drop off
I've
so I
already
can
spoiled
go.
that listening to the Mountain Goats. Go ahead.
I'm gonna listen to that album soon. I've been seeing a lot of movies at the Belcourt, and I'm gonna go do that now. So I'll catch you guys next time.
What movie are you going to see?
I'm seeing Ishtar, which is they're screening in the Music City Monday slot, so music related. So.
I thought you were talking when you dropped that message earlier. I didn't know you were talking about the actual movie.
Yes,
she is walking distance from one of the premier art house movie theaters in the South. It's a cultural institution.
Ishtar is the best worst movie ever made.
I'm so excited.
Amy, you didn't get to see Matthew McConaughey last week, did you? At his premiere, he showed up for his premiere at your neighborhood art house. So
it's so cool. Yeah, I love it. So yeah. And my other recommendation is local performance arts theater, local bands, support your neighborhood folks. All right. Love you guys.
Jamie, bye. All right. So the new Mountain Goats record, Days. John Darnielle is such an awesome songwriter, and I often kick myself for taking so long to get into them. I've always kind of liked them, but with Bleed Out, that's when I really sunk my teeth into what they're doing. Of course, the new Jack White. I would say I would put this in the middle of this category. I don't think he's capable of a bad record, but for me, Blunderbuss and Lazaretto and No Name are at the top. The dual releases from a couple years ago and Boarding House Reach are kind of in the bottom. This is squarely in the middle. Low Cut Connie. If you're not familiar with Low Cut Connie, take the deep dive into them today. They're from South Philly. They're one of the best live shows I've ever seen. And the new record, Living in the USA, is a protest record you can dance your ass off to. Jalen Nganda, he records for Daptone, so there's quality. And he's got this cool retro soul vibe going on. Brother Wallace, man, it's another kind of sort of retro soul record. It's just this one is. I think both of these records are rock solid, but this one especially is like all killer, no filler. And I also recently got to listen to about half of the new album by Boards of Canada, who I've never heard before, but I was pleasantly surprised by their kind of downbeat trip hop vibe, and I'm looking forward to listening to the rest of the album soon. So, all right, who's going next?
I'll go. If you were talking about Matthew McConaughey's The Rivals of Amaziah King, I just saw that today with my boy Henry, and that's was pretty great. The end sort of, bogged it a little tiny bit. But I saw the preview and I'm like, yeah, I don't know what that movie is about. It's a movie about community where beehives are sort of the metaphor for how communities are built and the people you turn into your family when your family's not around. I thought it was pretty beautiful, and McConaughey's chewing scenery like he likes to do, and that's awesome. Just a big southern Oklahoma this time, and there's a lot of music. It's a movie with a lot of music and live performance. It's not a music movie. I thought that was pretty good. I've kind of been obsessed with a couple of songs lately. Burn, Flicker, and Die by American Aquarium. Anybody familiar with that?
Yes, they're from North Carolina. They're great live.
Yeah. I mean, I don't love everything they do, but every once in a while, their songs just like grab me, like that one. I thought of you, Andrew. I thought if you hadn't heard that, but then I thought, nah, you heard it. That's up in your wheelhouse there, lyrically, for sure. And Del the Funky Homo Sapiens, Mr. Bob Dabalina. You know that one? listen to it. It'll make you really happy. It's just a really fun. I don't know when it was recorded or anything, but I'm sort of boning up on Gorillaz and their world because I'm taking Henry to see them in end of September. So that sort of, there's a connection, between Del the Funky Homo Sapien and Gorillaz, and that just got me to Mr. Bob Dabalina, which is fabulous. So have fun with that. Those are my recs.
Nice.
Easy, 2 of them.
I have been listening to the new Jack White quite a bit and really enjoying it. I have just started listening to that new Phoebe Bridgers. Gus absolutely loved it, and I think I do too. I'm looking forward to listening to it more. Andy, I've been listening to Big Thief. And then Gus introduced me to a couple of her solo albums that I've been listening to as well. And boy, it's just great stuff. I'm really excited. I love Big Thief, but I wasn't familiar with her work without them, and it's great. Plus, I just got back from Virginia. I drove up to Richmond, Virginia, for a theater reunion with a bunch of my friends from Lynchburg College from back in the day. And I was driving my wife's car, and she has Sirius satellite radio. And it was so fun to have all of that music available on Sirius satellite radio, where I'd be like, oh, I can listen to this, and I can listen to that, and I can listen to this. And it was a lot of fun. So anyway, that's what I listened to over the last couple days.
A week from yesterday, Mark and I are seeing Big Thief at the Ryman. They sold out the first night, and we're going to the second night. And I joined I'm trying to wean myself off of Facebook, so I joined Reddit because I know it's kind of not really like
I'm on fire.
It's like the methadone clinic, Anyway, so. But the Big Thief Reddit has just been lit up with great show reports from this tour, Mark. So I think we're in for a real treat. I guess I'll go ahead and.
I'm really excited.
I guess I'll go ahead and jump if that's okay with you, Rick. If I go ahead and jump into mine. So we've been away for over a month, and I felt like I had a good stable of new releases for 2026, but there was so much stuff I hadn't found yet. And I always every year. In the late December, early January period, go through everyone else's best of not just yours guys's, but everywhere, in the music, multiverse of music critics. And I always find stuff. I'm like, how did I not even know that existed? And then, or I recently listened to an album by Marcus King that came out last year that I actually accidentally went to the release party for. And at Grimey's, I was just going to Grimey's, and then all of a sudden I'm listening to a live Marcus King concert, and it was so crowded that I didn't go up to the first floor. So I went into the ground floor, which is a bookstore under the record store, and the floors were just shaking, and it was just so wild. It was just so incredibly wild. And then there's a breezeway at the back of Grimey's that goes to a clothing store. And there I saw Marcus King and his band all smoking cigarettes right after the show, kind of close up. And I saw him with the Black Keys guesting, as well as Sturgill Simpson guesting with the Black Keys quite recently. So I went on a Marcus King dive, and I've been into that whole kind of blues rock thing. So I finally got around to re-listening to blues rock that's in the Americana vein. I don't know what I'm saying. Anyway, I went and re-listened to the Sturgill album that came out earlier only on vinyl and CD, and now is finally available on the streaming. Just love Sturgill's album. And I had a shocking experience. I saw this interview with Mick Jagger. And I love early Rolling Stones music, and it's formative in all of our experiences as people of our generation now. Sorry that Amy had to leave, but for the 5 of us who are left, you can't be us without the Rolling Stones factoring in some fashion. But I got really sour on the Stones after learning a lot about the Altamont incident and how they kind of bungled the aftermath of that. And I've been kind of cold on the Stones, and the last album came out, and everybody was like, "You got to listen to the song with Lady Gaga. You're gonna love that," and blah blah blah. I was like, "Whatever." They're a million years old, but for some reason, this current Rolling Stones album really hit me in like a beautiful way. And that song, that's kind of like a requiem for America, is such a freaking beast of a song. I mean, it's just so. Anyway, I've really listened to the new Rolling Stones album, and
how awesome is their cover of Amy Winehouse's "You Know I'm No Good"?
I'd forgotten or didn't know that was Amy Winehouse. Phenomenal. Like, it's a phenomenal record. I mean, it's such a good record. It's almost like embarrassingly good. It's that these antiquarians can like push it. Like, I mean, it's just, it boggles my mind how good that Rolling Stones album is.
It is a good record, and I'm with you. Hackney Diamonds did nothing for me.
And by comparison, I could not get through a single song on the new Paul McCartney album. I put it on. I was like, oh my God, this makes me want to, like, I don't know, like, stop, never listen to music again. Sorry, Rick. I think Rick might like the new Paul McCartney album. But anyway, I had to turn off the Paul McCartney album before I could get through one song, whereas the Stones album, I want to listen to it over and over again. But I've gotten on off on a tangent that I didn't mean to go on, because I wanted to tell you about a couple of other new records. So let me just tell you really quickly, and I love that Scott has the CDs, but let me just tell you about a couple of albums that have been rocking my world. One is Birds of Paradise by Thomas Dahlbaum. That's Dollbaum. Now, it sounds so much like Fust that I have to keep reminding myself that it's not Fust. But Thomas Dahlbaum sounds a lot like Aaron, the lead singer from Fust. But it's a deeply southern indie rock album that has tangential connections to MJ Lenderman. So it's in the what Stephen Hyden, rock critic Stephen Hyden, calls the MJ Lenderman extended universe. And that's also kind of sonically where you're going to get Mildred from Oakland, and their album is called Fence Line. Mildred, just like the name Mildred. But these are all 30-year-olds with like really legit careers. One of them works in housing insecure advocacy, but one of them's like a rocket scientist, and like one's like a lawyer. They're like really like legitly smart, talented 30-year-olds with day jobs, and this is just their side. Their day jobs are their lives, and this is their like side project. They are defiant, saying they're not looking for a career in music, and it's definitely like kind of indie rock, and it's definitely adjacent to the Silver Jews. The comparison is Silver Jews meets CSNY. And I think partly that's because everyone in the band apparently sings and writes songs, and it's really a good album. Fence Line by Mildred. And then another album that just completely took me by surprise is a young folk band from Australia called Any Young Mechanic. And it's a little bit more, it's kind of like a more avant-garde or punkier version of Mumford & Sons. It's just, I love Mumford & Sons, by the way, but they're a little bit more complicated in terms of what they're doing sonically and what they're doing with their lyrics. But they're very young, 20-somethings from Australia. The name of the band is Any Young Mechanic, and the name of the album is The Modern Shoe is Ruining the Foot. The Modern Shoe is Ruining the Foot. So that's enough for right now for my turn. But yes, I'm gaga over stuff that's in the. I'll say one more. Everybody, not everybody, but Joe I know remembers my obsession with the Laughing Chimes from Athens, Ohio, who are a jangle rock band that sound like, you know, The Cure and REM had a baby, and they call it Appalachian Gothic. There's another band I just discovered from the UK called Tubbs, T-U-B-S, the Tubbs, that is really doing the 80s jangle rock thing extremely well. And they have a new album that's coming out in a couple of weeks called Hard Life, and they're called the Tubbs, T-U-B-S, from Cardiff, England. Okay, now shut up.
The Tubbs, they're on Merge. And you're the second person I know of who's raved about Thomas Dahlbaum, so I must investigate. So,
Rick. All right, I'll quickly bring up the rear here. A couple of you have already mentioned things that I would put on my list. Scott, I agree with you about the Mountain Goats. It's a great album, and the themes hit hard and deep now that I am how do they say, a man of a certain age. But the whole reflecting on the limits of life and the beauty within it, it's a great album.
Yeah.
Foreign Tongues by the Rolling Stones. One of the things that I admire about the Rolling Stones is if they've and I wish my favorite band from that period, Andrew, as you said, where it was burned into me. U2. I wish they had a little bit of the F it, we're the Stones. They just do what they want, and it works. An 82-year-old. Was he 83 now? Mick Jagger should not be able to get away with a song like "Mr. Charm" on this, but he does, and it's wonderful. But the album that Andrew said, "Just give me one song," and I was like resisting, is the Phoebe Bridgers album. Mark, I'm interested in hearing more from you as you listen to it. One of the things I said to Andrew last night is, okay, I'll give you a song. And I did, a good song. But this album is different than Stranger in the Alps and Punisher in that many of those songs seem to have a similar musical theme or connection or an aura to them. You're like, oh, yeah, that's on that album. Mark, the term I used when I was texting Andrew last night was, this album is like a set piece. I mean, it is put together in a way, and she uses not only her songwriting skills but studio effects, vocal effects.
You're right. It's really fascinating, and it was. I felt like clearly I had it on in my office today, and I thought I need to give this more attention. I am not listening to this as closely as I need to be because I'm thinking about and working on other things. Yeah, it's really something.
It is. And so I'll stop talking about it. You'll probably hear more from me in December. I see this album solidly in the top 10 right now. So that's what I'm listening to.
So, Rick, do you know the story about the aftermath of the song Candlebox?
No.
So they wrote this, but it's a great song. They wrote it, Don Riel wrote it from the standpoint of like, he had this band and they had their moment, and one of their highlights was playing shows with Candlebox, and somebody like shared the song with Candlebox, and Candlebox are like, hey, let's play a show together. So I don't know like where it is or if it already happened, but the Mountain Goats and Candlebox playing together, same stage. I mean, it's like the farmer and the cowman can be friends. So, unlikely rock and roll friends, I guess. All right. Is that it? Are we ready to wrap up?
So this has been the Music Nerds Record Club number 28. Your curator of the month has been Scott Greenberg from Charlotte, North Carolina. We're going to be back hopefully in September, and hopefully Amy Rock, who had to duck out a little bit early, will be our leadoff batter for the September episode. We'll try to do this again, get back on our once-a-month schedule. We do this on Monday evenings at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central. We will pivot to 7 and 6 when it gets much darker and starts getting dark earlier.
Yeah.
Y'all, sometimes I think we don't light up the chat enough, and then I'll go away for a couple days and I'll get on the chat and there'll be like 50 messages. But y'all use the chat, throw stuff in there for us to listen to, and just chit chat about whatever. And I love y'all. Mark, I'll see you on Sunday for Big Thief. Joe and I are going to Shoals Fest to see the Drive-By Truckers and Jason Isbell in a couple weeks or a month or so. Rick, I'm going to Americana Fest. I bought the wristband, which means I have to go now because I shucked out all the big bucks for the wristband.
Awesome.
Yeah. Anybody else want to say anything exciting that they're going to go see really quick? Anybody else got a big show on
I'm going to go see the play that you wrote a very nice review about tomorrow night.
Yes, local theater. Thank you, Mark, for supporting our local theater. And Amy said, "Go support your local music scene." That was her recommendation for the month. So
if anybody feels ambitious and wants to schlep to Charlotte, Sunday afternoon at 3:30, Jason Ringenberg and David Childers are playing a free show.
oh, you please go. Please report back for all of us. That's amazing. We'll be on the way to Big Thief, but that sounds fucking amazing.
Jason Ringenberg and who?
David Childers. He's big here in North Carolina, but I've been a lifelong Jason and the Scorchers fan. They actually been playing a lot of shows together around the area. They did a free show this past Sunday, but I couldn't make it, so I'm happy I have another chance to go see them.
There's an old Nashville coffee house that Rick and I frequent occasionally, but it was like one of the first like Nashville like independent coffee houses that was like an institution. It was really near Music Row, and you could go in there and see people. I saw when I first moved to Tennessee, I saw Jason Ringenberg, or I can't even say his name. I saw Jason Scorchers having a coffee in the coffee house, and I was just like, oh wow, this is what they said it would be like this.
And he is the nicest guy. He is a true mensch. I've met him several times, and at one point he's like, "Oh yeah, I remember you." I'm like, if you're lying, you're doing a good job of covering it up.
Rick, I didn't tell you. Mark knows this because he was there. Pat Sansone from Wilco had regular Joe lawn seats for the Dylan concert. Wow. And I went up to him and did my gushing about how Wilco has saved me and loved me, and and how great their show was. I went to see them a couple of weeks ago, or a month ago now. It was a month and a half ago. I don't know. It was about a month ago, I guess. It was so flipping good. Anyway, so I got to go and gush to Pat Sansone, and he was so sweet and so not at all annoyed or creeped out, by yet another Wilco fan stopping him to tell them how great they are. So
Right.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Sweet.
All right, guys. Yay. Later, alligators.
See ya.
Take care, everybody. Good night.
Chowda.